Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Job Change for All. Perfect Villain Life. Chapter 61. Qin Xian said to Qin Li, "Let's team up and go in together." Qin Li nodded happily after hearing this. Okay. Then he asked Qin Xian to team up. After the team was successfully formed, both of them could see each other's information on the team panel. Name: Qin Xian. Profession: Oracle Knight. Level: LV21. HP: 45,200 per megapixel. 43,600. Looking at Qin Xian's panel, although there was not much information, the health column alone made Qin Li's face show an amazed look. 4W3 health value. You know, ordinary professionals of the same level have a health value of about 10,000. Qin Xian's health value is almost comparable to that of a strong person at level 45 plus. Name: Qin Li. Profession: Angel of Death. Level: LV15. HP: 22,450 per megapixel, 23,100. At this time, Chu Bo's voice came, "Master, Miss, they are here." As soon as Chu Bo finished speaking, a strong breath came, attracting the attention of everyone in the valley. A group of strong men with strong breath appeared in the teleportation array. They are all level 39, all A-level or even S-level professions, with top-quality level 39 equipment, and the combat power of each one can be compared with Zhao Shang. So many top-quality level 39. Everyone was shocked, and then looked at this group of people, came to Qin Xian, and looked in awe. Master. Then, these level 39 strong men joined Qin Xian's team one after another. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes almost popped out. One Zhao Shang is already shocking. Not to mention a group of Zhao Shangs. Qin Xian had no expression on his face, and just nodded lightly. As the heir of the Qin family, he naturally had access to all the resources of the Qin family. The Broken Kingdom could receive the blessing of the ancient gods, which could directly improve the attributes of the professionals by one level. The Qin family naturally had to prepare for Qin Xian. So after Qin Xian was born, the Qin family directly used resources, spent countless money, and selected and screened hundreds of professionals. Finally, a team of professionals was selected. Under the arrangement of the Qin family, these more than 20 strong men were all stuck at level 39, and they also had a set of level 39 top-quality equipment. They also learned special skills specifically for the monsters in the Broken Kingdom dungeon. Their lives have been bought out by the Qin family. It can be said that they were born to clear the Broken Kingdom dungeon. They are the tools created by the Qin family for Qin Xian. Just for the Broken Kingdom dungeon. Let Qin Xian be blessed by the gods. But they are lucky, they have been waiting for 20 years. Finally, they waited for the Broken Kingdom dungeon to reopen. If the Broken Kingdom dungeon had not been opened, Qin Xian would naturally become stronger according to his own trajectory. But they could only stay at the same level until they died of old age. But even after the Broken Kingdom dungeon was cleared, they were basically useless. Because they had wasted 20 years, their future limit was basically here. Their purpose was to serve Qin Xian and clear the Broken Kingdom dungeon. All resources were concentrated on Qin Xian, so that Qin Xian could receive the top blessing of the ancient gods. But they did not resent it. They had been loyal to the Qin family for generations and were loyal to the Qin family. Even in their philosophy, serving the Qin family was their supreme honor. And although they had become Qin Xian's toolman to clear the Broken Kingdom, this life was for a dungeon. But they also received generous rewards. Their families would get a good development under the Qin family. Qin Xian looked at the 39-level toolmen under his command with a calm expression. Of course, he understood the sacrifices of his subordinates, but he was calm in his heart. Because as the heir of the Qin family, he had already gotten used to these. Everyone looked at this scene with shock, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. They couldn't even feel jealous of Qin Xian, but only shocked. This is the strength and foundation of the top family. In order to let Qin Xian pass a copy, more than 20 powerful people who originally had a promising future were forced to waste decades and waste their lives to become tools. With a group of top 39 professionals, Qin Xian was basically destined to pass the Broken Heaven copy perfectly. And ordinary people like them can only form a team honestly, and then successfully defeat a boss and get rewards. It's already considered that their ancestors' graves are smoking. It's more likely that many of them will die in the copy. Life is so unfair. Chu Jun'er's face also showed a shocked expression, and she couldn't help but look at Qin Xian deeply. She, the eldest lady of the Chu family, naturally would not enter the Broken Heaven Kingdom alone. Under her command, there is also a team of Chu family's strong men. However, these Chu family's strong men are randomly selected from professionals below level 40. Although their strength is not bad, but they are all strong men who have grown normally. They are completely incomparable with those top-level 39 professionals of the Qin family, who are specially trained for the Broken Heaven Kingdom dungeon. In the Broken Heaven Kingdom dungeon, I am afraid that a top-level 39 professional of the Qin family can reach the combat power of most of her strong men. This is the difference in background. Chu Jun'er's eyes can't help but be a little complicated. Although the Chu family is the top family of the empire, the Chu family only rose after Chu Cixin entered the legendary realm, that is, 300 years. And the Qin family was already the top family of the empire in the early days of the founding of the empire, and it has been passed down for thousands of years. Whether in terms of background or strength, the Chu family is much worse than the Qin family. Apart from anything else, these more than 20 A-level and S-level masters originally had a good chance to grow to level 50. As a result, the upper limit is now useless. In other words, the Qin family used more than 20 masters of around level 50 to exchange for Qin Xian's chance to be blessed by the gods. The Chu family can't do this kind of courage. She once heard her grandfather say that in fact, emperors of all dynasties were quite afraid of the Qin family. But emperors of all dynasties, however, could not do without the support of the Qin family. They could only constantly appease the Qin family and comfort the Qin family. Apart from anything else, the Qin family has occupied the position of ruling the Imperial Cardinal Council for hundreds of years. The head of the Qin family in each generation is almost the second emperor of the empire. Qin Xian, Chu Jun'er murmured in a low voice, and suddenly a smile of unknown meaning appeared on her face. In the crowd, Yi Zan saw that scene, without the shock and envy of others. There was only hatred in his heart, and disdain. Others were just envious that the Qin family could produce more than 20 top-grade 39 strong men for Qin Xian. But Yi Zan only felt sad. He felt sad for those more than 20 strong men. These people were all high-level professionals of A-level and S-level. They could have had a promising future and could at least reach level 40 or even 50. But because the Qin family wanted to cultivate Qin Xian, they killed their lives. Whether they were willing or not, Yi Zan felt that this was a kind of sadness. Yi Zan clenched his fists tightly, his eyes firm. Although Qin Xian's lineup was so luxurious, he firmly believed that he was the strongest. This time, the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy would be the first step for him to become a dragon. Suddenly, the earth in the entire Hengjiang area began to tremble. I saw that the huge portal suddenly rang with a very magnificent bell. It was like the wailing of the end of the world. Then the countless runes on the portal began to flicker, and the dreamlike light enveloped the entire Hengjiang area. In the portal, the huge vortex was constantly stirring, and from the depths of the vortex, one could vaguely see a broken but extremely spectacular world. Seeing this scene, everyone's face was lifted. The Broken Heaven dungeon was finally opened. Enter the dungeon. Confirm the team panel again. Don't fall behind. After entering the dungeon, you will be teleported according to the team. Everyone check the props and potions. Nearly 1 million professionals and tens of thousands of teams in Hengjiang area were in a commotion and began to pass through the portal and enter the Broken Heaven dungeon. Master, Miss, I wish you all the best. Chu Bo bowed slightly to Qin Xian and Qin Li. He was already level 58, which exceeded the entry level of the Broken Heaven. He could only wait outside. But he was not worried about Qin Xian's safety. With such a luxurious team lineup, Qin Xian didn't have to do many dangerous things, he just needed his strong men to do it. Qin Xian smiled at Chu Bo and nodded. Although many people thought Qin Xian was quite cold and would do anything to become stronger. But in fact, Qin Xian is very tolerant to the people around him. He is not a cruel, capricious, mean and ungrateful master. Let's go. Qin Xian looked at his sister, and Qin Li returned a warm smile. The brother and sister, surrounded by a group of powerful men, passed through the portal and entered the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy. As if passing through a long tunnel, countless fragments of time flashed in front of Qin Xian and others. The next moment, they appeared on a huge plain. It is indeed the Broken Heaven Kingdom. Qin Xian looked at the scenery around and couldn't help but sigh. At this time, it was a magical world, and also a broken world. Their plain, rather than a plain, is a huge floating island, and in the distance, there are also countless cities, mountains, and even oceans floating. This world was torn apart by an inexplicable force and shattered into countless areas. Standing on this plain, looking far into the distance, you can't see the end at a glance. This broken world is divided into countless areas, divided into the void. This place is simply a part of the void. Master, there are a total of 7 bosses in the Broken Heaven dungeon. They are Oath-Breaking Knight Abel, Bloody Priest Leah, Eye of the Void, Twin Sons Baron of the North Wind Valkyrie, Empress Angelina, Void Warlord Crocodile. A Qin family strongman looked respectful and introduced the Broken Heaven dungeon to Qin Xian. His name is Fan Xing. In the past few decades, he has been studying various materials on the Broken Heaven. It can be said that he is a humanoid strategy machine. This alone is something that other teams can hardly match. The Broken Heaven dungeon is a linear dungeon world, full of void monsters. Hunting void monsters in the dungeon can gain world purification. When the purification reaches 30%, the boss will wake up. Each boss drops void crystal sources, which are distributed according to the performance of each team. After defeating 5 bosses, you can go to the Holy City to defeat Empress Angelina. After Empress Angelina is defeated successfully, the final boss, Void Warlord Crocodile, will appear. It is a genuine level 40 Void Warlord. No one has ever been able to really kill Void Warlord Crocodile. When its health is less than 20%, it will open the Void Portal and escape. It only takes 1 minute. But it is almost impossible to kill it within 1 minute. After defeating the Void Warlord, you can go to the Ancient Temple and receive the blessing of the Ancient Gods according to the number of Void Crystal sources. The rules of the Broken Heaven dungeon are not complicated. But it is very cumbersome. On everyone's panel, there is an additional ranking list, which shows everyone's ranking. Generally speaking, the higher the ranking points, the more likely they are to be recognized by the gods. Can the Void Crystal source dropped by the boss be snatched? Qin Li, who was standing aside, suddenly asked. Qin Xian couldn't help but smile knowingly when he heard this. This is his sister, who grew up with him and has the same way of thinking as him. You can snatch it, miss. Fan Xing hurriedly responded. Every time the Broken Kingdom dungeon is opened, 60% of the teams die in the dungeon, and most of them die at the hands of other teams. Qin Xian nodded. He thought for a moment, looking at the countless void monsters entrenched not far away. He ordered, in this case, we will hunt the void elite monsters first, and the boss will be given to other teams to fight first. When we reach the gate of the King's City, we will directly hunt other teams. Now Qin Xian's top priority is to constantly hunt the void elite monsters to improve his attribute points. Yes, the Qin family's strong men immediately stepped forward and began to sweep away all the void monsters. The void monsters in this area are corrupted demonic wolf level 20 void monsters. Although the combat power of a single monster is not strong, there are estimated to be thousands of monsters in this plane. And they are very dense. If you attract one, it is equivalent to dozens of monsters entering the battle at the same time. Even a level 35 professional can't afford to offend. However, the strong men under Qin Xian's command are all specialized in dealing with the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy. Each of them has a set of equipment with an entry attached. Sacred increases damage to void monsters, undead monsters, and demon monsters by 35%. So when the Qin family's strong men took action, they almost swept away and destroyed them. And Qin Xian and Qin Li, it was equivalent to lying down and gaining experience points. Hunting corrupted demon wolf, experience plus 1544. Hunting corrupted demon wolf, experience plus 1544. Hunting elite corrupted demon wolf, experience plus 4547. Hunting corrupted demon wolf, experience plus 1544. Although the experience gained will be diluted by the team, the efficiency is extremely high, and Qin Xian's experience can be seen to rise rapidly. And Qin Li is about to level up. But at this moment, Qin Xian frowned slightly. His second profession is the Lord of the Void. He is very sensitive to the breath of the void. And he also felt that this copy seems to be a little wrong. In theory, after the death of a monster, it will either be a corpse that can be transformed into various materials by some manufacturing skills, or it will drop loot directly, and the corpse will be directly digitized and disappear. But after the death of these corrupted demon wolves, although they drop loot directly, their corpses also disappear directly. But Qin Xian keenly noticed that after their death, the aura of the void did not disappear, but gathered together and gathered towards a certain place. Basically no one can notice this. Only Qin Xian's second profession is the Lord of the Void, and his control over the void is very terrifying, so he can slightly perceive some. And Qin Xian can also feel that somewhere in the broken heaven, a horror from the void seems to be awakening. Qin Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. It seems that humans may not have a deep understanding of the broken heaven dungeon. But Qin Xian is not going to pursue this matter now. And as long as it is a void monster, he is almost invincible. The Lord of the Void is the top existence in the food chain of the Void system. The Void Warlord and even the Void Lord are all his food. Only the Great Terror in the Void is at the same level as him. Although his level is not high now, he can only be regarded as a young Lord of the Void. But even a young Lord of the Void has blood suppression on other Void monsters. What Qin Xian really cares about now is to become stronger. It must be said that the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy will no wonder cause a sensation in the entire human world. Because there are too many monster experiences here. In just a few hours, Qin Xian has already upgraded one level to level 22. And Qin Li even upgraded 2 levels in a row. Not to mention the blue and purple materials that fell on the ground. However, Qin Xian doesn't like these materials and distributes them to the strong men under his command. And there are about 20 elite monsters in the void, elite corrupted demon wolf, all of which have been killed by Qin Xian. This gives Qin Xian 300 extra talent points. That is, in the Broken Heaven dungeon, these elite corrupted demon wolves are only level 25. If it is on the front line of the void, it is not so easy to hunt 20 elite void monsters. In just a few hours, Qin Xian hurried to see his strength become visibly stronger. His strength attribute is almost doubled from before. But the more this is the case, the more Qin Xian is eager to continue to become stronger. For Qin Xian, power and beauty are just pastimes. What really fascinates him is the feeling of becoming stronger, watching his attribute points increase little by little. The void monsters on this plane have been cleared. On the ranking list, the world purification degree has also reached 14%. It seems that all teams are frantically fighting monsters. In the depths of the broken heaven, there is a strange time and space. This space is full of the breath of holy glory, and majestic temples stand in the air, magnificent and magnificent. Full of divine glory. In the temple, a tall figure surrounded a round mirror. On that round mirror, all the teams that entered the broken heaven dungeon appeared. The leading god was a female god with a beautiful appearance and a look of pity on her face, which made people want to worship her. She was the eternal goddess Marika, the head of the ancient gods in the broken heaven. Behind her, the gods were different, but each god had a frightening majesty. This batch of human professionals seems to be stronger than before. It seems that after 20 years, humans are still getting stronger. Marika's voice was soft, and a look of emotion appeared on her face. Apocalypse chose this world, and humans started to digitize, which is an advantage that other races cannot match. They directly have the most efficient and perfect evolutionary system in the universe. Beside Marika, a naked upper body, with explosive and strong muscles, the god of war said in a muffled voice, "Apocalypse abandoned us and chose humans." Malika shook her head and said lightly, "If there was no apocalypse, our world would have been completely broken. It is precisely because of apocalypse that we are still alive now, and our world, at least, retains the last glimmer of hope." Her eyes were full of sorrow, looking at this broken world. This world is the world she created with her own hands, and this empire is the empire established by her believers. But when the void invaded, she was powerless and could not stop the void at all. She could only watch the void erode the entire world. If it were not for the will of Apocalypse to appear at the last moment, I am afraid she would have been a false god enslaved by the void. But even so, she lost most of her divine power and could only survive in this copy world. Waiting for the appearance of the child of prophecy. The void is still entrenched in this world, Marika. The god with explosive muscles said in a deep voice. He is the god of war Kenshi, and in this world, his divine power is second only to Marika. When the void invaded, he killed 13 void lords. However, facing the great terror in the void, he was directly deprived of his godhood. At the end of the world, the will of Apocalypse appeared, forced back the great terror of the void, protected the origin of this world, digitized this broken world, and formulated the rules of Apocalypse. For thousands of years, they have been in this space, watching batches of human strongmen come to attack the copy, using divine power, and through the origin of the world, granting humans one blessing buff after another. The reason why they voluntarily were sealed by Apocalypse and became the arbitrator of this copy. First, it was because of the transaction with the will of Apocalypse. Apocalypse asked them to help human evolution. Second, they were also waiting for the Son of Prophecy. Although the emergence of the will of Apocalypse forced the void to retreat, the great terror of the void was also unwilling to fail. It left behind its most loyal servant, the void warlord Ka Crocodile, who has been entrenched in this world. Although the void warlord Ka Crocodile was also suppressed by the rules of Apocalypse, his body was semi-digitized, his strength was suppressed to level 40, and he became the final boss of the copy. But he is the servant of the Great Terror, and he has the blessing of the Great Terror. For thousands of years, the void warlord Ka Crocodile has been trying to make the Great Terror return to this world and take away the origin of the world. For humans, this broken kingdom is just a copy, a way to become stronger. But for these gods, this is their home and the battlefield where they play against the void. The Son of Prophecy is their last hope. The omen of the origin of the world, they will eventually wait for a Son of Prophecy, who will be recognized by the origin of the world and become the new emperor of the Holy Nerman Empire. At that time, the origin of the world will be revived again, and the broken kingdom of heaven will disappear. The Holy Nerman Empire will reappear on earth. Malika, there is a human being, very strong, could he be the Son of Prophecy? The god of war Kenshi looked solemn, looking at a handsome young man in the round mirror, wearing glorious armor, holding a big sword, and the whole person was shrouded in holy light. In the crowd of void monsters, he was like a wolf entering a flock of sheep, looking down on him. Although he was only level 22, those level 35 elite monsters were vulnerable in front of him. This person was Qin Xian, who was hunting the elite monsters of the void. And his performance attracted the attention of all the gods. So strong. His combat power is completely beyond the scope of this level, at least level 40. He is the most powerful human professional I have ever seen. The gods showed excitement on their faces and talked about it. It's rare to say that the Son of Prophecy has appeared. But Marika frowned tightly, she stared at Qin Xian, and after a long time, she shook her head. Kenshi, if you are not strong, you will be the Son of Prophecy. Marika stared at Qin Xian with a look of scrutiny. Strong strength is not the real strength. The inner strength is the real strength. I can feel that this human has no warmth and kindness in his heart, and no mercy for the weak. He is not the Son of Prophecy. Marika's eyes were a little fearful, even vigilant. But there was another sentence that Marika didn't say. She felt something very bad in this human, something that made her feel very dangerous. Even this feeling was similar to the one she had when she faced the great terror of the void. But even Marika herself felt that this feeling was absurd. Marika whispered to the gods, only a kind, good, and resolute heart can truly save the Son of Prophecy of our world. And I have a feeling that the day when we meet the Son of Prophecy is coming soon. Marika's heart moved slightly, and she stretched out her hand and drew a picture, and another picture appeared in the round mirror. In the broken heaven copy, in an abyss full of molten flames. Yizan raised his head and looked at the countless floating islands in the distance. At his feet, the corpses of void monsters lay on the ground, almost piled up into a hill. Brother Yi, thank you. Thank you, big brother. Several professionals on the side were grateful. The people in their team had just fallen into a tough battle. If it weren't for Yizan's help, I'm afraid they would have died here. We are from the Haohan Guild. I am the Guild Master Wang Mang. Today's great kindness will be forever remembered by the Haohan Guild. A middle-aged man bowed deeply with gratitude on his face. No need to be polite. Yizan smiled, and exchanged greetings with several people for a while, looking at the satisfied expressions on their faces. He was full of a sense of accomplishment. He saved too many people along the way. And these people also surrendered to his personal charm, and they all rushed to make friends with him and were willing to die for him. Yi Zan knew deeply that it was not enough to rely on the old members of the Yi family to overthrow the Qin family for revenge. Although the old members of the Yi family were also a huge force. But over the years, because they were old members of the Yi family, they were suspected and suppressed by the Qin family, and their strength was not that strong. Compared with the Qin family, it was far from enough. So he had to unite all the forces that could be united. Although the people he saved were not from aristocratic families, they were all from civilians, or from small guilds and small forces. But Yi Zan believed that those who are right will have many supporters, and those who are wrong will have few supporters. Although these small forces and small guilds are inconspicuous, if they gather together, they are also a huge force. They are the foundation of this country. The Qin family and other aristocratic families are too far away from the bottom. They forgot that water can carry a boat but can also overturn it. Yi Zan looked at the ranking list. In terms of the progress of hunting void monsters, Qin Xian's name was the first in the gap, reaching a terrifying 70,000. This means that Qin Xian has almost hunted nearly 10,000 void monsters. The second place is Chu Juner, with a score of just over 40,000, almost half of Qin Xian's. As for the third place, it is even lower, only 20,000. The rest are densely packed guilds, with thousands of points, and the competition is very fierce. And Yi Zan's points are only more than 6,000. But this is already very difficult. After all, Qin Xian has an excellent 39 team under his command. And Yi Zan is alone, and he has wasted a lot of time to save people. At this moment, the sky of the entire broken heaven appeared extremely dazzling. Above the sky, a crystal-clear ancient holy tree loomed. The degree of purification has reached 30%. Someone shouted. Then, 5 terrifying lights shot up from every corner of the broken heaven. These 5 auras are so terrifying. The early boss have all appeared. Someone looked happy and immediately rushed towards the nearest knight's station. Above the knight's station, a huge holy sword slowly descended and finally turned into an extremely powerful knight. His body was huge, several meters high, and his armor was filled with a frightening void aura. The original style of the armor was mighty and sacred, but now it gives people a sense of tyranny and distortion. Swearless Knight Abel Elite Boss Level LV 35 HP 48W Skills Corrupted Chains, Void Greatsword, Knight's Justice Motto, Summon thousands of troops. Introduction. Abel was once the strongest knight in the Empire. When the Void invaded, he led his royal knights to fight bravely against the enemy. But when he met the Great Terror with the Void, he betrayed his oath before he died. He chose to surrender to the Void, was voluntarily corrupted by the Void, and became the Forsworn Knight. After becoming the Forsworn Knight, he has been wandering in his knight's station, waiting for the Lord of the Void to come again. Boom! Countless teams headed towards the knight's station. The Forsworn Knight Abel is one of the 5 early bosses in the Broken Heaven. He not only drops Void Crystal Source, but also many rare equipment and materials. For example, the Abel suit. This suit is plate armor, a level 40 purple top quality equipment. Not only does it provide a large amount of strength and system attribute points, but after the suit is collected, the term Abel's Resentment can be activated. Abel's Resentment. Every time you are attacked, there is a 25% chance of rebounding 16,000 magic damage, and reducing the opponent's attribute points by 20%, which lasts for 20 seconds. It is simply the top quality equipment for the main tank. Basically, if you have a set of Abel suit, you can graduate directly and use it as an heirloom. This can be said to be the most powerful equipment that small and medium-sized forces, as well as ordinary people, can obtain. So when they saw the appearance of the oath-breaking Knight Abel, all the plate armor professions came out in full force, ready to attack this boss. Yi Zan also went to the knight's station. His profession is the Dragon God Apostle, and he came to the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy. In addition to looking for his sister, it is also because of the blessing of Transformation Blessing. Transformation Blessing is one of the blessings of the gods, the top existence. It can directly make the profession evolve, so the skill level cap is increased by 3 levels. But Yi Zan is the Dragon God Apostle. The biggest difference between dragon professionals and other professions is that dragon professionals have the best affinity for the Godhead in the world. If he can get the transformation blessing among the blessings of the gods, then he can only become an SSS level dragon god. And Yizan always has a feeling that he is being watched by someone. But he did not feel malice, but felt a certain expectation. Inside the pantheon, all the gods were looking at Yizan in the round mirror. Now the battle to defeat the treacherous knight Abel has begun. The scene was extremely chaotic. Although Abel had been digitized by Apocalypse and lost all his intelligence, he was just a monster without thoughts. But his strength was still very terrifying. Every attack was devastating. But this battle was different from what the gods had seen at other times. In every previous crusade, human warriors suffered heavy casualties. But this time, human professionals basically had few casualties. The reason for this was the appearance of Yizan. He stood in the air, leading the way, almost fighting swearless knight Abel alone. The remaining many professionals were behind Yizan, following Yizan's command, and carrying out the crusade in an orderly manner. And swearless knight Abel's health continued to decrease and eventually cleared. Swearless knight Abel roared, his body collapsed, turned into starlight and disappeared, and dropped a lot of spoils. This human is indeed unusual. A god had a look of surprise and even shock on his face. At the beginning of the crusade against swearless knight Abel, human professionals suffered heavy losses, but Yizan stood up at the critical moment. He not only contained most of Abel's hatred, but also commanded the entire situation. What's even more amazing is that those human professionals actually listened to his wisdom after their initial hesitation, and finally successfully defeated broken knight Abel. Malika, is he the son of prophecy? A god asked. Malika shook her head. I don't know, the origin of the world has not responded yet, but I have a hunch and intuition. He is that person. The name Yizan is mentioned more and more in the dungeon. No one knows his origins, or even what his specific profession is. But more and more teams are willing to follow his command. Under his command, the major guild forces, with extremely low casualties, successively defeated broken knight Abel, Eye of the Void, Twin Sons, Baron of the North Wind, these 5 boss. And the dropped rewards were extremely fair under Yizan's distribution, and no one had any complaints. It seems that the human professionals who have entered the dungeon in the past have never seen such a harmonious scene. A withered abyss, looking around, all dead void monsters. After 3 days of continuous monster hunting, Qin Xian's level has reached level 25. Qin Li has also reached level 19. And the elite monsters hunted by Qin Xian have reached 100. In other words, with the increase of the secret source power, Qin Xian has gained an additional 2,250 attributes. Name: Qin Xian. Profession: Oracle Knight. HP: 63,100 per megapixel, 62,600. Level: LV25. Strength: 1145. Agility: 720. Constitution: 831. Spirit: 732. Intelligence: 826. Qin Xian's strength attribute even directly exceeded 1,000. You know, many level 50 strong men have strength attributes that do not exceed 1,000. Qin Xian has 1145 points of strength at level 25. It's simply cheating. However, the skill God Killing Growth is itself a bug in the Apocalypse system. It's almost reached the limit. Qin Xian thought to himself. He has been stacking passives these days and almost killed all the void monsters in the dungeon. After all, the Broken Heaven dungeon is not entirely made up of void monsters, there are also many other monsters. But those don't make much sense to Qin Xian. It's almost time to defeat the boss. Qin Xian looked at the ranking list. Now his ranking on the ranking list has dropped. After all, he didn't take action on the 5 bosses, and the most points were contributed by defeating the boss. But even so, Qin Xian's ranking is still second. Yizan. Qin Xian looked at the name at the top of the ranking list and narrowed his eyes slightly. This name made him suddenly remember something. The evil offspring who escaped from the Yi family that year seemed to be called Yizan. Although the name Yizan is very common, there are at least 800 people named Yizan in the entire empire. But Qin Xian has a hunch. This Yizan, maybe it's that Yizan. Thinking of this, Qin Xian frowned slightly and looked at his sister beside him. He knew the truth of the matter. Qin Li's real name is Yi Li. Qin Xian looked calm and took a deep look at his sister Qin Li, but he didn't have any worries. If Yi Zan is not the fool of the Yi family, it's fine. Even if it is, it won't make any waves. Qin Xian looked expressionless and looked down at his right hand. After stacking more than 200 layers of passive, Qin Xian felt that he was so powerful. Even if it is a god, he has to crawl at his feet. Because the blood of the Qin family is born to rule the world. After the 5 bosses were defeated successfully, plus the wild monsters defeated by the major guilds, the world purification degree reached 60%. In the center of the Broken Heaven Kingdom dungeon is the royal city of the ancient empire. Although the royal city has been ruined, you can still vaguely see the former magnificence and grandeur. In front of the royal city, countless teams gathered, waiting for the awakening of Empress Angelina. After the 5 bosses were defeated, Empress Angelina will awaken in the royal city. After defeating Empress Angelina, the final boss, Void Warlord Crocodile, will appear. The last 2 difficult battles were all in the royal city. In front of the royal city, Yi Zan stood with his hands behind his back. Behind him, the presidents of the guilds and the leaders of the teams looked at him with conviction. Although it was only 3 days, they were completely convinced by this mysterious young man. For some reason, they just felt that Yi Zan had a leadership temperament that made them want to surrender. Qin Xian. Yi Zan looked at himself on the leaderboard, with 7 void crystal sources, ranking first, and a confident smile flashed in his eyes. These 5 bosses dropped a total of 50 void crystal sources. Yi Zan had 10 void crystal sources on him, tied for first place with Chu Junwei, the eldest lady of the Chu family. The reason why he took action and risked his identity being exposed to become the first on the list. Not only because he wanted to get the support of all large, medium and small forces and unite all forces. There is another more important reason. He wanted to target Qin Xian. Since the first boss, Qin Xian has not appeared. Qin Xian has missed 5 bosses and has no void crystal source on him. Without the void crystal source, it is impossible to go to the ancient temple and receive the blessing of the ancient gods. Yi Zan doesn't believe that Qin Xian would not want the blessing of the gods. Then there is only one possibility. That is, Qin Xian wants to directly snatch the void crystal source of other teams. That's why he didn't show up until the end, and snatch the void crystal source directly, so that he could go to the heavenly god temple for blessing. According to common sense, these guild teams fought on their own, and even became hostile to each other because of the crusade against the boss. Naturally, they would be defeated one by the Qin family. But now, these guild teams have been condensed into a rope, and they are extremely united. Although Qin Xian has a team of top-level 39 professionals under his command. But Yi Zan didn't believe that the Qin family could still defeat dozens or hundreds of their teams together. Thinking of this, Yi Zan couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. At this time, someone exclaimed, "The Qin family is here." Everyone looked over, and Qin Xian led a group of Qin family strongmen and appeared in front of the royal city square. Seeing Qin Xian appear, the children of the aristocratic families and the students of the Imperial Capital Academy immediately came forward to salute. Mr. Qin. Seeing Qin Xian appear, Yi Zan secretly clenched his fists, and his heart was full of expectations. He was looking forward to it. When Qin Xian was surprised to find that most of the team guilds were united, he could not plunder the void crystal source. How wonderful his expression would be. Even if Qin Xian defeated the last 2 bosses, he would not have much void crystal source on him, and the blessing he received would only be the lowest level. Qin Xian looked calm, and saw many guild teams standing together at this moment, as if they were from the same force. And he also saw the high-spirited Yi Zan. The 2 young men looked at each other from a distance. They were very similar, both of them were surrounded by many people, and they were like stars in the sky. But they were completely different. Beside Yi Zan, there were small and medium-sized guilds, or ordinary people. Beside Qin Xian, there were children of aristocratic families. They seemed to be representatives of 2 classes. Qin Xian looked expressionless, looking at the guild leaders and group leaders standing together beside Yi Zan, as if they were a family. It must be said that he was indeed a little surprised. Unexpectedly, in just 3 days, this young man named Yizan brought together so many guild teams. In this way, it would be difficult to snatch the void crystal source from them. Qin Xian looked at Yizan, and Yizan still had that charming smile on his face. As if everything was under his control. Qin Xian smiled, with a bit of sarcasm in his smile. This Yizan is really naive. Some things are as simple as imagined. Just like the things in this copy, in fact, they are still in the real world outside the copy. Do these so-called guild leaders really dare to disobey the will of him, the eldest son of the Qin family? Qin Xian smiled at the guild leaders around Yizan and said, "Each of you can leave a void crystal source." Yizan sneered when he heard this, and felt that Qin Xian was really arrogant. Even arrogant to the point of stupidity. Do you really think that in the copy, the Qin family can cover the sky with one hand? But soon, a guild leader next to Yizan had an uncertain expression, but he gritted his teeth and walked out, respectfully offering 2 void crystal sources. Immediately afterwards, more guild leaders also stepped forward and handed over the void crystal sources honestly. 1 minute later, the ranking list was updated. The first place was Qin Xian, who had 21 void crystal sources. The smile on Yizan's face froze. He had never thought that the guild leaders around him would honestly hand over the void crystal source just because of Qin Xian's words. That was the certificate for going to the temple of the gods to receive blessings. He looked at a middle-aged man in disbelief and couldn't help asking, why? The middle-aged man's name was Song Kai, a level 38 strong man, the president of the Haoshan Guild, and also the guild leader who most respected Yizan. They fought side by side for 3 days. Song Kai almost regarded every word of Yizan as an imperial decree. But when Qin Xian wanted the void crystal source, Song Kai was the first to stand up and hand it over. Yizan didn't understand why it turned out like this. They joined forces, and no matter how strong the Qin family was, they could not plunder their void crystal source. Looking at the shock and confusion on Yizan's face, as well as a trace of anger, Song Kai smiled bitterly in his heart. However, he admired the young man Yizan very much, and knew that if they joined forces in the dungeon, they could fight even against the Qin family. But the problem was, they couldn't stay in the dungeon forever. More than 2,000 people in the Haoshan Guild were outside. His relatives and friends were also outside. In the outside world, the Qin family could cover the sky with one hand. They were tough and left these void crystal sources, which could get the blessing of the gods. But if they disobeyed the will of the Qin family, their guild and group, they would suffer revenge from the Qin family. For the brothers in the guild, for their family and friends, they could only accept Qin Xian's request. Besides, Qin Xian didn't kill them all, and let them keep one. At least they could still accept the blessing of the gods, which was how they comforted themselves. After getting the void crystal source, Qin Xian's crystal source directly reached 21, ranking first. Now Qin Xian's points have returned to the first place. Even if Qin Xian didn't get the crystal source for the next 2 bosses, he could still get the top blessing from the heavenly god temple. Qin Xian looked at Yizan, the second-ranked existence. He is now basically certain that this Yizan should be the orphan of the Yi family. Qin Xian also heard the system's prompt. The villain system is activated, and the 3rd stage main task is started. Task: eliminate the threat of Yizan. Task completion reward, 200 villain points. Another son of luck. Unexpectedly, he met 2 sons of luck in a row during this trip to the Broken Heavenly Kingdom dungeon. That Xiaoming was already dead in the light. Now there is another Yizan. And Yizan's expression was even more gloomy, and a trace of regret arose in his heart. The reason why he took the risk of exposing his identity was to make Qin Xian miss the blessing of the gods. But now, not only did the plan fail, even his identity might be exposed. After all, in the dungeon, the name panel cannot be faked. But now, Yizan is calm. He took a deep breath and suddenly attacked. Without the slightest sign, transform into Dragon God. As soon as Yizan attacked, he used his strongest skill trump card. Since he might have been exposed, he would just attack directly and rescue his sister. At worst, he would not need the blessing of the gods. For Yizan, his sister, his only relative, is the thing he values most. Even if there is no blessing of transformation and he cannot become a dragon god, it doesn't matter. He wants to rescue his sister Yi Li immediately. Boom. A terrifying dragon roar resounded through the sky, and extremely terrifying dragon patterns emerged from Yizan's body. His body became extremely tall and stood in the air. The whole body was filled with hot, molten flames that could destroy everything. After entering the dragon god state, Yizan's occupation at the moment was also revealed. Dragon god. Seeing this scene, everyone's face showed an extremely shocked look, as if they had seen a ghost. Impossible. Dragon god. Everyone was shocked. After the advent of the apocalypse, the only person in the human world who was the founding emperor Yingzhu was the dragon god. Since then, no dragon god has appeared in the human world. Especially after the emperor disappeared, there was no dragon professional in the empire. Unexpectedly, they saw the dragon god profession again here. After entering the dragon god state, Yizan's skills were all replaced by dragon god skills. Dragon god body. Dragon god body. Immune to all control, reduce damage by 80%, and increase maximum health by 1000%, lasting 20 seconds. Yizan did not use any damaging skills, but directly used his life-saving trump card. Although he entered the dragon god state, he only had 5 minutes. If he got into a fight, as long as 5 minutes passed, he would probably not be able to get away from the Qin family's strong men. So he directly used the body of the dragon god, ready to take all the attacks head-on. Rushed to Qin Li and take his sister away. Yizan was shrouded in flames, and rushed towards Qin Xian and Qin Li. Seeing Yizan rushing, Qin Li's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Dead silence winter, Qin Li shouted, and a pair of death wings spread out behind her, followed by a terrifying death aura, which directly enveloped everyone within 100 meters. Except for the Qin family's strong men, the rest of the professionals were caught off guard. They were directly corroded by the death aura and turned into skeletons. After these professionals died, countless death auras gathered towards Qin Li, making her look like a goddess of death. Death preview. The next moment, Qin Li condensed all the death auras into one point, turning them into a strange pattern, sweeping towards Yizan. Death premonition. Consume all the death aura, mark the target whose level is not higher than 10, cause 5000 magic damage, and have a 30% chance of instant death. Yizan's expression changed drastically. He felt the strong aura of death coming. And he never thought that his deliberate plan would suddenly explode. It was actually ruined by his sister. The instant death feature is too overbearing. No matter how much defense you have or how much health you have. Once the instant death is triggered, you will die, no reason at all. So Yizan, who activated the body of the dragon god, did not dare to resist. He could only avoid it. What Yizan could not accept even more was the cruelty of his sister Qin Li. Qin Li just killed hundreds of innocent professionals to obtain the breath of death and used death notice. Even those professionals killed by Qin Li were known to Yizan, and they were saved by him from various monster bosses before. As a result, the people he saved died in the hands of his own sister, which must be said. This is really a huge irony. When Yizan avoided it, the other strong men under the Qin family immediately reacted and attacked. Looking for death, various terrifying attack skills slashed at Yizan. Even if Yizan is a dragon god profession, so what? Dragon. It's not like the Qin family has never killed a dragon before. Boom. More than 20 top-level 39 strongmen attacked, and even though Yizan had entered the dragon god state, he was still a little overwhelmed. His blood volume dropped by more than half at once. But this also shows the horror of the dragon god profession. Yizan is now level 28, but he can still withstand the siege of more than 20 city lord level strongmen. If he changed to another profession, he would probably be seriously injured if not dead. At this moment, Qin Xian suddenly attacked. His body suddenly disappeared, and the next moment he appeared in front of Yizan. Although Qin Xian's body looked quite small under Yizan's majestic body in the dragon god state. But it gave people the feeling that his momentum suppressed Yizan. Qin Xian's body exuded a dazzling sacred light, and with the bright armor and the giant sword in his hand, he looked like an angel war god who had descended to the earth. With his sword, the entire royal city trembled a little. All professionals retreated with shocked expressions on their faces. SSS level Oracle Knight, and SSS level Dragon God. Two SSS level hidden professions are fighting at this moment. Everyone is looking forward to it. Who is stronger, the dragon god or the oracle knight? Endless sword. Qin Shian's sword fell, and this sword was like a punishment from heaven. The terrifying giant sword suppressed, and the ground around Yizan was instantly broken. The terrifying air waves surged directly, blowing away the city wall palace. Endless sword level 2 causes 40,000 physical damage to the target, adds 40,000 magic damage, and creates an endless sword domain around the target, making 50 strikes within 3 seconds, and each public attack causes 500 approximately 1,000 points of sacred damage. After 3 seconds, the settlement is made. If the damage of the endless sword domain exceeds 35,000, the target will fall into a weak state, and the main attribute will be reduced by 30% for 120 seconds. Cooling time, 5 minutes. Seeing this terrifying sword, Yizan's face was fearless. He is still in the dragon god state and his level is higher than Qin Shian. How could he lose? Yizan roared and rushed towards Qin Shian. The next moment, his expression changed drastically. The body of the dragon god was directly shattered, the Dharma body was broken, and the whole person crashed into the ground, trampling countless palaces. Yizan's entire body bones were almost broken. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes almost popped out. I thought it was a strong confrontation. How come the dragon god broke at the touch? Yizan's face also showed a look of shock. The power of that sword was almost not level 2 or 30, but in the range of level 50. Qin Shian looked at Yizan expressionlessly. His strength attribute was already more than 1100 points. Even if Yizan was a dragon god, he would be directly broken. Yizan gritted his teeth, and the whole person turned into a translucent state and escaped into nothingness. Wandering in the void, enter the void state. The dodge chance is increased to 99%, lasting for 15 seconds, and the movement speed is increased by 500%. One of the important reasons why the dragon god is so powerful is that the dragon god has many life-saving skills. The next moment, Yizan's body almost disappeared, at a very fast speed. At this moment, a beautiful woman appeared. She lightly tapped her hand, and the space around Yizan suddenly solidified. A huge black coffin directly imprisoned and covered Yizan. Qin Shian, did this person make you angry? Chu Junyu stepped on the stars and came with a smile, as if the move just now was just a casual move. Qin Shian looked at Chu Junyu quietly. Death Emperor Coffin, one of Chu Junyu's skills. As long as it is not an invincible skill, it can suppress the target in the black coffin for 5 minutes. Qin Shian looked at Chu Junyu with a smile on his face, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Because he found that Chu Junyu's level had risen from level 31 to level 38. At level 30, each level up requires millions of experience points. As a result, Chu Junyu was able to level up 7 times in a row. And Qin Shian could feel that Chu Junyu's combat power was far above the level 38. In the past 3 days, he has become much stronger. And Chu Junyu has also become stronger. It seems that, this eldest lady of the Chu family also has unknown secrets. Qin Shian smiled slightly and chatted with Chu Junyu directly. He should be the orphan of the Yi family. Chu Junyu's face changed slightly when he heard this, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Back then, the Yi family was wiped out. Although the Qin family was the murderer behind the scenes, the Chu family was also not clean. At this moment, the entire royal city suddenly began to tremble. The next moment, a magical light suddenly enveloped the black coffin and cracked it. Then Yizan's figure also disappeared in the light. This scene made Chu Junwei's expression suddenly gloomy. Qin Shian was much calmer, just frowning slightly. He could feel that the power just now was full of the breath of law. In other words, the ancient gods of the broken heaven saved Yizan. Qin Shian's eyes flashed with a hint of sarcasm. It was interesting. Did the gods break the rules of the copy? Although Yizan was rescued, Qin Shian was not worried. Because he knew that as long as Qin Li was still there, Yizan would come back sooner or later. Thinking of this, Qin Shian glanced at Qin Li. Qin Li was distracted at the moment, and I don't know what he was thinking about. Maybe Qin Li also felt the difference in Yizan. Noticing Qin Shian's gaze, Qin Li looked at Qin Shian and smiled, "Brother." Qin Shian also showed a gentle smile on his face as before. It seems that he is still the brother who loves his sister very much. But in the depths of Qin Xian's eyes, there is indifference. Emotionless indifference. He and Qin Li grew up together, so naturally he has a lot of feelings for Qin Li. But this kind of feeling will not affect any decision of Qin Xian. In his heart, interests always come first. If Qin Li knows the truth and chooses to betray the Qin family, then Qin Xian will suppress it without hesitation. Even Qin Xian now has the idea of using Qin Li as bait. The plan to lure out Yi Zan and the old members of the Yi family behind him. In his heart, everyone can be a pawn that can be sacrificed and used when necessary. Even Qin Li is no exception. Chapter 71. The Imperial Capital, the Zhou Family. The Zhou family is one of the top families in the empire. Zhou Xingkong, the head of the Zhou family, is a level 78 warrior. Although he has not yet entered the legendary level, he is also a top warrior in the human world. He is also the chairman of the Imperial Security Committee. The security committees of the major provinces of the empire must be under his control. Other members of the Zhou family also hold high positions in various departments and have deep roots. But now, the powerful circles in the imperial capital are discussing something about the Zhou family, a small gossip. After Chairman Zhou inspected the security committees of various provinces a few days ago, he actually brought back an 18-year-old boy. His illegitimate child. This incident immediately set off a huge wave in the Zhou family, making a mess. The mistress of the Zhou family, who also came from a famous family, was extremely angry. In fact, she also understood that with Zhou Xingkong's status, he must have many women, and even many illegitimate children. But having an illegitimate child is one thing, and bringing an illegitimate child back is another. Bringing the illegitimate child back to the head of the family is tantamount to humiliating her. But Zhou Xingkong used an unquestionable tough attitude to forcibly suppress all the discordant voices in the clan. In this way, the illegitimate child of the Zhou family had a place in the Zhou family. It also aroused a lot of interest and topics in the circle of dignitaries in the imperial capital. However, people only knew that the illegitimate child was named Zhou Nan, and it seemed that he was just an A-level profession. Imperial capital, Zhou family. As a famous family in the empire, the Zhou family mansion is naturally not small, covering an area of dozens of miles, with gardens and rockery inside, and an elegant environment. In a remote place in the Zhou family mansion, there is a 2-story villa. A boy with a decent appearance was lying on his bed. He is Zhou Nan, the illegitimate child of Zhou Xingkong. Of course, he had already recognized his ancestors and returned to his roots under the guidance of Zhou Xingkong a few days ago, and now he is a legitimate young master of the Zhou family. However, the other children of the Zhou family had a rather bad attitude towards this suddenly extra brother. Some simply ignored him, thinking that an illegitimate child of an A-level profession had no future. But more of them were hostile. After all, if there was one more brother, there would be one more share of the Zhou family's resources in the future, which would naturally damage their interests. Now, Zhou Nan already had a personal butler by his side, and he also had a lot more authority in his hands. He picked a good set of equipment from the Zhou family's inventory. But at this moment, Zhou Nan's face was full of excitement. Or ecstasy. It seems that this talent is real. I can really copy other people's skills and talents. Ha ha ha, I'm invincible. Zhou Nan clenched his fists tightly. He had just copied a full set of skills from his nominal brother, Zhou Zhanzhong, the eldest son of the Zhou family. Zhou Zhanzhong was the eldest son of the Zhou family, a famous top genius, who awakened the SS-level undead high priest profession. He was only in his early 30s this year, but he was already level 41. Everyone had high hopes. Maybe he can become the first legendary master of the Zhou family. Zhou Nan, the illegitimate son, awakened to an A-level magic pattern mage, which is good among ordinary people and can bring honor to the family. But in the Zhou family, he can only be considered average and has no sense of existence. But Zhou Nan knew that he was different from others. Because when he awakened his profession, in the apocalypse ceremony, he found that he actually had an extra talent copy. A talent that can copy the skills of any target. But the conditions for copying are a bit harsh. You have to shake hands with the other party for 30 seconds and then look at the other party. Just now, Zhou Nan forcibly shook hands with his cheap brother Zhou Zhanzhong for 30 seconds, and then said a lot of nonsense to him. Zhou Zhangzhang was very disgusted with him and thought that Zhou Nan was deliberately provoking him, and almost beat Zhou Nan to death. Fortunately, there were other elders of the Zhou family present at the time, so Zhou Nan barely completed the copy. Then he left immediately and returned to his residence. Summoning the Skeleton Sea, Dead Flame, Corruption, Death Bell. Looking at this series of powerful skills, Zhou Nan was in a very good mood. These skills are all the skills of the High Priest of the Dead, and more importantly, they can be upgraded. In other words, although Zhou Nan is only an A-level magic pattern mage, all his skills are those of the High Priest of the Dead. Zhou Nan was extremely excited. With this skill, he was really invincible. Zhou Nan stood up excitedly and shouted loudly, "Uncle Sun." Soon, an expressionless middle-aged man appeared and bowed to him slightly, "Master Nan." This Uncle Sun is Zhou Nan's personal butler. Level 42 professional. In fact, Zhou Nan knew that this Uncle Sun didn't like him, and he should even be the mistress's man, secretly monitoring him. But he didn't care. "Uncle Sun, who is the first genius of our empire?" Uncle Sun heard this and said calmly, "Of course it is the eldest son of the Qin family, Qin Xian. He is an SSS level Oracle Knight, and he is also a dual professional, the first genius in the country." Speaking of Qin Xian, Uncle Sun also showed a trace of awe on his face. SSS level. Zhou Nan had been living in a small town before and knew very little about these things. But he also understood what SSS level meant. "Then can I meet him?" Uncle Sun's eyes were a little sarcastic, but he still nodded. "Master Nan, you are the young master of the Zhou family, so you naturally have the opportunity to meet young Master Qin. But it depends on the opportunity. After all, that person is not something you can meet just by saying so. And young Master Qin should still be in the Hengjiang area to fight the Broken Kingdom of Heaven copy, and he will return to the imperial capital in a few days." Zhou Nan nodded. "Then tell me when he returns to the imperial capital." Zhou Nan made up his mind. SSS level. He must steal Qin Xian's skills. In the pantheon, several gods looked solemnly at Marika. After a long time, the god of war Kenshi said in a deep voice, "Marika, you violated our agreement with Apocalypse. You used divine power and interfered with the progress of the copy." Marika smiled and said, "I know." She turned to look at the gods and whispered, "But I felt the fluctuation of the origin of the world. When that human turned into a dragon god, the origin of the world awakened." As soon as these words came out, the gods showed shock and excitement on their faces. "The origin of the world awakens, he is the son of prophecy. Is our world saved?" Marika slowly stood up and said lightly, "I will go to see this human in person. He still needs to go through the last test." In the royal city, everyone's face still had a look of shock. After all, the moment Yizan was rescued just now was the manifestation of the power of God. And this is also the first time they have seen a god. Even if it is just a sealed god. Everyone was talking about it. After all, it was too shocking for them, as he was both a dragon god and a god. They were all wondering who Yizan was. However, people were still discussing whether anyone could achieve a perfect clearance in this Broken Heaven dungeon. The world's purification degree is already 80%. After reaching 100%, if you kill the boss perfectly, you can pass the level perfectly. This should be the first time the purification degree is 80%, right? Many people looked at Qin Xian. Although Qin Xian was overbearing, they had to admit it. Qin Xian contributed greatly to the purification degree reaching 80%. Qin Xian basically killed all the void monsters. In the past, it was impossible. Once the purification degree reached 30%, most of the team went to attack the boss, and no one went to sweep ordinary monsters. Fan Xing said in a deep voice, "Master, Empress Angelina will randomly cast a skill when her health is 40%. If the skill cast is Filthy Pillar, all healing professions can use the Dispel skill to purify it. After the Dispel is successful, they can obtain 20% world purification." Qin Xian nodded slowly. 100% world purification, plus the 21 void crystal sources on him, is enough for him to pass the level perfectly. By then, he can almost directly upgrade to level 30 and obtain the most perfect blessing from the gods. At this moment, the royal city suddenly began to tremble, and a majestic and solemn voice with twisted madness resounded in the world. "Mortals, you dare to step into the royal city and disturb me. Then, a female emperor appeared. The left half of her face was extremely beautiful, but the other half of her face was covered by a mask, revealing only a blood-red eye. It was Empress Angelina. Empress Angelina, Elite Rare Boss. Level LV 40. HP 77W. Skills: Emperor's Despair, Shield of Truth, Blasphemy, Filthy Pillar, Void Assimilation. Introduction: Empress Angelina, the last emperor of the Saint Nerman Empire. After the fall of the ancient empire, she led the last army to guard the royal city. After a hellish 20-year siege, the royal city fell. The Queen Angelina was forcibly transformed into a void creature by the void, and her soul was enslaved by the void and became a minion of the void. Seeing Queen Angelina, everyone's face showed a solemn look. Queen Angelina is different from other bosses. Her combat power is almost 10 times that of other bosses. One careless move will really wipe out the whole team. The queen held a scepter and stood in the air, looking at everyone indifferently, as if looking at a group of ants. Go! Someone immediately took action, and all the teams rushed forward. One of the guild leaders of level 39, wearing a heavy defensive armor, took the lead, and was directly killed by the queen with one hand. Boom! The queen moved. Although her body was huge, as if she was as tall as a dozen floors, her movements were extremely agile. Every time she attacked, dozens of professionals were killed instantly. In less than a minute, hundreds of professionals died, and the battlefield was extremely tragic. The health of the Empress was still at 99%, with almost no blood loss. This was the gatekeeper boss of the broken kingdom of heaven, and his strength was so terrifying. Qin Xian had no expression on his face and attacked directly. Sword of Judgment. The terrifying holy sword directly pierced through the Empress's body, and the Empress couldn't help but roar in pain, and her health dropped by 5%. Everyone's eyes almost popped out when they saw this scene. Just now, all of them rushed forward, and thousands of professionals attacked, but they only wore away 1% of the Empress's blood. And Qin Xian's attack took away 5%. They knew that the gap between them and Qin Xian was huge, but it shouldn't be that big, right? The hatred of the Empress was immediately attracted by Qin Xian, and her target was directly locked on Qin Xian, and she began to attack Qin Xian. However, all her attacks were avoided by Qin Xian. Qin Xian couldn't be attacked at all. The Empress's eyes were full of anger, and she kept roaring, but under the attacks of Qin Xian and other professionals, her health quickly dropped to 40%. 40%, someone shouted, looking expectant. With this skill, the Empress will summon the Filthy Pillar, which can pollute and corrode the entire world, and completely transform this broken world into the void. As long as the Filthy Pillar is purified and dispelled within 5 minutes, 20% of the purification degree can be obtained. Everyone is praying that it must be the Filthy Pillar. When the world purification degree is 100%, even if they leave the dungeon immediately, they can get extremely generous rewards. Even more generous than the low-level clearance. The look on the Empress's face was full of madness. You angered me, mortals. She turned scarlet, and the scepter in her hand suddenly shattered and turned into a crown, which she wore on her head. The next moment, behind the Empress, a huge black portal appeared, emitting a terrifying breath of the void. It's Void Assimilation. Void Assimilation. Summon a giant void gate, enter the shield state, shield 15W, chant for 30 seconds, and transform the target within 10,000 meters into a void monster. Everyone's face showed a deep disappointment. Without using the skill Filthy Pillar, it is impossible to purify 100%. It seems that this time, there is no way to pass the level perfectly. But there is always a gain. Although it is impossible to achieve a perfect clearance, the skill Void Assimilation is easy to handle. It is basically a free gift. As long as the shield of the queen is broken and the chanting of the queen is interrupted within 30 seconds, the queen will fall into a state of silence and vulnerability for up to 2 minutes. Focus on her shield and interrupt her. The guild leader immediately began to command, and everyone focused on the queen, preparing to interrupt this skill. Seeing that the queen did not cast the skill Filthy Pillar, the expression on Qin Xian's face suddenly became gloomy. This means that he can't achieve a perfect clearance with 100% purification, nor can he obtain the top-level blessing of the gods. The time of the appearance of the broken kingdom of heaven is not fixed every time. The last time it appeared was 20 years ago. He is now close to level 30, and it will take 2 years to reach level 40. Unless the broken heaven appears again within 2 years, he will almost accept the blessing of the perfect God this time. This time, he must get the most perfect reward for the broken heaven. Qin Shian looked at the void gate behind the Empress with cold eyes. The void breath inside was so dense that it could assimilate thousands of professionals into void monsters. A trace of indifference flashed across Qin Shian's eyes. Since that's the case, Qin Shian suddenly attacked, but this time the target was no longer the Empress, but other professionals. Bang! With one sword from Qin Shian, hundreds of professionals were cut in half, and many were killed or injured. The offensive of the crowd besieging the Empress also stagnated. How could they have thought that Qin Shian would actually attack them? What are you doing? Quickly interrupt the void assimilation. Several guild leaders looked anxious and shouted at Qin Shian. 30 seconds passed in a flash. Once the void assimilation skill was released, half of them would be transformed into void monsters and lose all their intelligence. Qin Shian looked at the angry crowd, a cruel smile appeared on his face, and he said lightly, "Don't you think it's a pity that we only need 20% of the purification degree to pass the level perfectly?" Everyone was stunned, and their bodies trembled violently. Understood what Qin Shian meant. He just wanted to make the skill void assimilation release successfully. Since there was still 20% of the purification degree missing, then assimilate these countless professionals into void monsters, and then he will kill these professionals who have become void monsters. Isn't it possible to obtain the world's purification degree? In Qin Shian's eyes, everyone is a discarded child who can be sacrificed and used. These professionals are naturally no exception. In the distance, Chu Jundiao on the side was also stunned, and then he understood what Qin Wu meant. Chu Junjiang looked at Qin Shian deeply, his eyes full of complexity. There was fear and vigilance. But more is admiration. Chu Junjiang is completely different from other women. She doesn't like those kind and gentle men at all. This is a cruel world. Only by being more cruel than this world can you go further. How can a man who achieves great things have a woman's kindness? This Qin Shian will definitely be as good as his father Qin Ming in the future. He said calmly, "Let the Empress release this skill." There were several Chu family warriors under his command who were a little hesitant, but when they saw the young lady's cold eyes, they immediately got excited and agreed. With the addition of the Chu family warriors, a group of professionals could not attack the Empress at all. They could only watch the Empress chant to completion. The skill void assimilation has basically never been read out. After all, it is a free skill. But now, void assimilation is really going to be read out. The Qin family, Chu family, and some warriors from aristocratic families are naturally not afraid, because their equipment is luxurious and can resist the erosion of the void. But what about these civilians? Many people want to leave the dungeon directly, but they can't teleport away in combat. Some people turned around and ran away, wanting to escape. But where can they escape to? Finally, the void gate on the Empress's body materialized, and the terrifying void aura immediately enveloped the entire royal city, as if the world was about to end. Countless professionals were enveloped by the void aura and directly corroded by the void. Their bodies began to mutate and turned into various strange shapes. After being assimilated by the void aura, all their name panels were removed. They completely became void monsters without intelligence and only knew how to kill and abuse. Almost 100,000 people in the entire royal city were transformed into void monsters. Although they did not die, they were more terrible than death. Some survivors looked at this scene with despair and shock, tears streaming down their faces. Many of their companions became void monsters. They looked at Qin Shian with indescribable eyes. This young man, really cold and ruthless. Before this, they thought Qin Shian was quite kind. After all, he was different from those children of aristocratic families who oppressed civilians. Qin Shian basically would not attack Pinkang for no reason. But now they know. If interests are involved, Qin Shian is even more cruel than those children of aristocratic families. Hundreds of thousands of people. Kill them if you say so. But Qin Shian's face is still calm, as if the corruption of these hundreds of thousands of people can't cause the slightest ripple in his heart. It's like hundreds of thousands of insects died. Qin Shian coldly ordered, "Do it." The Qin family's strong men behind him immediately stepped forward and began to sweep these void monsters. These void monsters had just been corroded, without any intelligence, and their strength was very low. In a moment, tens of thousands of them were killed. And the world's purification degree was also increased to 82%. Qin Xian took a step forward, and the whole person seemed to bloom with endless holy light, covering the entire royal city. At this moment, he seemed to be the incarnation of a god. His body climbed higher and higher, turning into a giant. The giant sword in his hand was fiercely inserted into the ground. The next moment, complex and mysterious holy light runes emerged from the ground in the royal city. Judgment Sermon, God-given skill, insert your holy sword into the ground, and create a field within a range of 30,000 meters around. Cause 50,000 points of holy light damage to all targets, and an additional 300% damage to undead, demon, and void monsters, and create 10 light pools. Each target killed by you will contribute 300 points of energy to the holy light pool, and the holy light pool energy will be online at 50 W points. At the settlement, all the energy of the holy light pool will be concentrated at 1 point, and 50 W holy damage can be caused to the main target again. Cooling time: 7 days. Boom. All the void monsters in the entire royal city, more than 100,000 void monsters, were swallowed up by the holy light. At the same time, the Empress Angelina was also killed by this attack. At the same time, the copy system showed the world purification degree, 100%. Qin Xian's body trembled slightly. Releasing this skill was a great burden for him. Qin Xian's mana was directly emptied, and the skill Judgment Sermon directly entered a 7-day cooldown time. However, this skill is indeed powerful, almost like a nuclear bomb, and now it has the power of destroying a city. When Qin Xian's level is high, he can destroy a country with one skill. This is the horror of SSS level professions. Although the world purification degree has reached 100%, and although the Empress was successfully defeated, but there is no joy on people's faces. The whole royal city is filled with decay and desolation. Before this, there were hundreds of thousands of professionals and countless teams in the royal city. These teams were bustling, united, and full of confidence in the future. And now, there are only tens of thousands of people left. These surviving professionals looked at Qin Xian with eyes. It was even more terrifying than looking at a boss. Perhaps from now on, in their hearts, Qin Xian is a boss. Many people looked at Qin Xian deeply and turned away. Even the last boss, Void Warlord Crocodile, was not fought. Who knows if something will happen again? He didn't die at the hands of the boss, but died at the hands of Qin Xian. But more people chose to stay. See the copy, it is very dangerous. In addition to the safety net of the main city, the wild and the copy are dangerous areas, full of dangers. The Broken Heaven copy is a rare opportunity. If you miss this time, you don't know when the next time will be. Where is this? Yi Zhan looked at the scenery around him, and his face was still a little confused. He still remembered that he was trapped in the Emperor's coffin and thought he would die there, but suddenly a force teleported him to this space. This space seems to be on a hill, lush and green, with green grass under his feet. From a distance, it seems that the whole world is plains and hills, and there is no end in sight. This is the space of God. A gentle and sacred voice suddenly sounded behind Yi Zhan. Yi Zhan turned around in a hurry and saw a beautiful and sacred goddess appear. He felt a sense of hesitation and holiness on the goddess. Who are you? I am the eternal Queen Marika, the god who created this world. Marika smiled at Yi Zhan. Yi Zhan heard this and showed a trace of respect on his face, and slowly lowered his head. Thank you for saving me, Eternal Queen. Seeing Yi Zhan so respectful, Marika's smile became even bigger. Because I feel that you are different. Marika whispered. Let me tell you, you saved so many human professionals in the copy. But when you were in danger, no one saved you. Do you regret saving them? Yi Zhan shook his head without any hesitation. No regrets, I saved them just because I wanted to save them, not because I wanted them to repay me. Give me another 100 chances, I will still choose to save them. Marika looked at Yi Zhan's eyes carefully. She could see that these words were all Yi Zhan's thoughts from the bottom of his heart. Marika smiled. She smiled at Yi Zhan and said, It seems that you are the son of language we are waiting for. I will take you to the temple of the gods to receive the blessings of the gods. But before that, you still need to accept a test. In the royal city, when the empress fell, an extremely terrifying aura slowly appeared, and the entire land of the royal city began to break. Boom! A huge demon hand was on the ground. Just one hand was as high as a hill. Then, an extremely huge monster appeared in front of everyone. Its body is dozens of meters high, and its body is covered with terrifying molten flames. Its eyes are like the eyes of hell, full of tyranny and madness. There is also a wing behind it, covering the sky and the sun, so that the entire royal city is shrouded in his shadow. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile Elite Rare Boss. Level LV 40. HP 99W. Skills Warlord Mark, Void Decay, Flame Spreading, Death Announcement, Reincarnation Cage. Introduction. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile, a loyal servant of the Void Great Terror. The Void is unwilling to fail, and sends Ka Crocodile to guard the deep underground of the royal city, ruling his underground kingdom, waiting for his master's return. This final boss is a genuine Void Warlord who has seen the existence of the Great Terror. His cunning and cruelty are beyond any boss. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile, holding a whip in his hand, showed a cruel smile on his face. He looked at Qin Xian with an interested look on his face. Human, I saw you underground. You are very strong. You are less than level 30, but you can have a combat power comparable to that of level 45 or above. The next moment, he and Qin Xian's bodies suddenly disappeared and appeared in another space. Reincarnation Cage. Exile the target and yourself in the Void Cage. The target's main attribute is reduced by 50%, and the breathing speed of all skills is increased by 200%, sold for 5 minutes. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile, grinning at Qin Xian, you are the strongest combat power. As long as you die, the remaining Wang Hao people are just that woman. It is your honor to face the great Void Warlord Ka Crocodile alone. But I can still give you a way out. Quote. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile looked down at Qin Xian, as if looking at an ant that interested him a little. Your methods are very cruel, I like it very much, and your talent is also the most stringy person I have ever seen. If you are willing to submit to me, I can recommend you to God. We in the Void need talents like you. Qin Xian just looked around at this space. This was another time and space, and no one could see what was inside. When he heard the Void Warlord Ka Crocodile asking him to surrender, he couldn't help but laugh out loud, as if he had heard a funny joke. You want me to surrender to you, a Void Warlord? The smile on Crocodile's face suddenly darkened. This human actually looked down on him and thought he was just a small Void Warlord. You know, in the world of the Void Warlord can be regarded as a high level, second only to the Void Lord. Not to mention that he is a Void Warlord who has seen the great terror of the Void. Crocodile stared at Qin Xian with a violent look in his eyes, and roared, I will torture you bit by bit, human. Crocodile held a long whip and rushed towards Qin Xian like a mountain. Qin Xian looked at Crocodile coldly with cold eyes and directly activated his second profession. Lord of the Void. An extremely oppressive and cold aura emanated from Qin Xian's body, and his eyes ignited blue flames, full of emotionless indifference. Seeing this scene, Void Warlord Ka Crocodile's face was filled with extreme shock and fear. What? Void Warlord Ka Crocodile knelt down directly. He felt extreme fear. At this time, the fear from the depths of his blood made his soul tremble. Let alone attack Qin Xian. He didn't even have the courage to look at Qin Xian. The Lord of the Void. Calco knelt on the ground. The powerful blood pressure made him unable to raise his head. He asked in an unbelievable panic tone, You, how can you be the Lord of the Void? How is this possible? At this moment, Ka Crocodile became extremely humble. The world of the Void is very hierarchical. In the depths of the blood of every Void creature, the fear of the upper position has long been engraved. The Lord of the Void is the noblest existence in the Void world. Every Lord of the Void is a great terror. He has supreme authority over the creatures of the Void. But Ka Crocodile has never figured out how a Lord of the Void could appear in the human world. It is hard to say that this human is the offspring of a certain true god. As far as Ka Crocodile knows, there are 7 major royal courts in the Void, and his master is a student of one of the royal courts. Whose offspring is this adult in front of him? Until now, Ka Crocodile finally understood. Why did he feel that Qin Shian's personality and methods were very suitable for the void world? It was not because Qin Shian was cold and ruthless, but because Qin Shian had the blood of the void. But no matter what, Il was full of panic and regret. It just treated the adult with that attitude. If his master knew, he would kill him directly. Qin Shian looked at Crocodile crawling at his feet with a sarcastic look. If he was outside, he might have to spend a few minutes to deal with this void warlord. But in this space, he directly activated the Lord of the Void, and the Crocodile, who could be suppressed by blood, had no experience of resistance. Crocodile, who is your master? Qin Shian asked expressionlessly. It is the Lord of Corn of the Third Royal Court. Crocodile responded cautiously. I don't know, sir, you. Qin Shian glanced at Crocodile coldly, frightening the warlord so much that he trembled all over and dared not say another word. Even so, there was still a trace of inexplicable look in Qin Shian's eyes. Everyone knew that his father was Qin Ming, the ruling emperor of the empire. But no one knew who his mother was. Why did Corn keep you here? Although Qin Shian's tone was very impolite, he directly called Corn instead of the Lord of Corn. But Crocodile didn't think there was anything wrong. Qin Shian was also the Lord of the Void, just like his master. They are of the same class. My master left me here and made me the boss of the dungeon. For thousands of years, I have been collecting information about the rules of the Apocalypse dungeon, waiting for the master's call. And over the years, every time a dungeon is opened, Apocalypse will refresh the void monsters, and after the void monsters die, I will collect these void breaths. Used to create void anchor points, in the future, I can welcome the army of the Second Lord King's court under my master's command. Give me the void anchor points. Quote, Crocodile was a little confused when he heard this. This was the task assigned to him by his master, Lord Corn. But facing Qin Shian, he did not dare to refuse. He had to take out a crystal-like thing and handed it to Qin Wu. Void Anchor, a legendary item that marks a world and can cast a portal to connect to the void world. This thing can be said to be extremely important. The great terror of the void is extremely powerful. But it is precisely because it is too terrifying that ordinary portals cannot bear their energy at all and will collapse directly. But Void Anchor is different. Placing Void Anchor somewhere can create a portal that can bear the energy of the Great Terror. The Great Terror of the Void can pass through the portal and come to Blue Star in person. After putting away that Void Anchor, Qin Shian looked at the Void Warlord Crocodile again. I could have let you go, Qin Shian said expressionlessly. But your previous attitude offended me, Crocodile, you know the consequences. Void Commander Crocodile heard this and trembled violently. It was a trembling of fear. But a fierce light appeared in its eyes. Although Qin Shian was the Lord of the Void, the fear in his blood made him dare not disobey Qin Shian's will. But he was a servant of the Lord of Corn after all, and the void monsters under the command of the Corn Royal Court were extremely tyrannical. So, Void Commander Crocodile suddenly stood up and turned around to flee. He didn't dare to attack Qin Shian, but his tyrannical character still gave him a little courage to escape. Qin Shian sneered, stupid. Void strangling a void creature that is not higher than your level by 20 and lower than your rank by 2 levels. The cooling time is 2 hours. The next moment, the body of Void Commander Crocodile completely collapsed, and the vitality was directly emptied, and he died completely. There was still a look of fear on his face. And with the death of Crocodile, Qin Shian also returned to the royal city. Brother, seeing Qin Shian appear, Qin Li immediately rushed over, her face full of excitement. Qin Shian was dragged into the reincarnation prison by Void Warlord Crocodile just now, and she was very worried. Although she was very confident in her brother Qin Shian, Void Warlord Crocodile was a level 40 elite boss after all, and it would still be dangerous for Qin Shian to face it alone. Now seeing Qin Shian return safely, Qin Li also put down her heart hanging in the air. Along with Qin Shian, the corpse of Void Warlord Crocodile appeared. Everyone in the royal city was silent. Everyone had a look of shock on their faces. In less than 5 minutes, Qin Shian defeated Crocodile, the final boss, by himself. Although Qin Shian had shocked people many times, they still felt extremely shocked this time. Void Warlord Ka Crocodile is the final boss of the broken heavenly kingdom. A real Void Warlord, not a simulation by the Apocalypse system. For thousands of years, in so many broken heavenly kingdom copies, no one or team has ever been able to defeat Void Warlord Ka Crocodile successfully. The highest record was to let Void Warlord Ka Crocodile escape with approximately 8% of his health. Originally, they had prepared for a fierce battle, and expected that it would take several hours or even a night. As a result, Qin Xian solved the battle by himself in 5 minutes. They couldn't help but feel a little desperate in their hearts. Is the gap between people really that big? At this time, everyone received the perfect clearance reward. Although they did not defeat the final boss Void Warlord Crocodile, after all, the world purification degree was 100%, plus the previous 6 boss. Everyone got a huge amount of experience. Many people directly upgraded several levels. 1. Broken Heaven Dungeon is equivalent to several years of hard work outside. Then they also received many gems and material rewards from the Apocalypse system. If they cash it out, basically everyone can get millions. And Qin Xian's system panel also showed a system prompt. Perfect clearance of the Broken Heaven Dungeon, system score, SSS. Reward, 66W experience points, Broken Heaven Suit Purple Quality Rift Summoning Skill Book Void Domination Skill Book. Clang, clang, clang. Qin Xian's level directly increased from level 25 to level 30. After reaching level 30, Qin Xian's Oracle Knight also unlocked the first fragment of the Godhead. Punishment of Oracle Godhead Fragment. All main attributes increased by 10%, all skill levels increased by 1 level, Godhood progress plus 10%, immune to any god's deterrent skills, obtain Punishment Order. Punishment Order causes true damage of 50% of the target's maximum health value. Must hit, and the target's skill hit rate is reduced by 30%, the main attribute is reduced by 30%, the duration is 240 seconds, and the cooldown time is 24 hours. Looking at the obtained Godhead fragment, Qin Xian narrowed his eyes slightly, and couldn't help being shocked in his heart. This punishment order, is a bit too much. Because this skill is guaranteed to hit. In other words, Qin Xian can even use the skill Punishment Order directly on a legendary strongman, directly evaporating half of the target's health. You know, the health of a legendary strongman is in the millions. Even tens of millions. Qin Xian can directly hit 5 million. It can directly weaken the legendary strongman. The fragment of the divine body. Qin Xian narrowed his eyes slightly, and he was more looking forward to the fragment of the divine body. Under normal circumstances, he could only obtain a fragment of the divine body every 30 levels, and he could only become a god at level 300. But this is almost impossible. At most, he can become a demigod. But he knew that there were other fragments of the godhead in the pantheon. When Void Warlord Ka Crocodile fell, the world changed, all the void evil energy disappeared, and the broken world was slowly recovering. The royal city was shrouded in golden light, sacred and incomparable. Although it was just an illusion, everyone could also see a glimpse of the prosperity of the ancient empire. At this time, the souls of the ancient emperors recovered from pain and wailing and appeared in front of everyone. They said to everyone in a magnificent voice, "The kings passed away, the empire reincarnated, the gods revived, and all things rose." A huge portal appeared in the square of the royal city. There was a staircase inside. The stairway to heaven. Qin Xian knew that this was the staircase to the pantheon, where he could receive the blessing of the ancient gods. After killing Empress Angelina and Void Warlord Ka Crocodile, he gave 20 void crystal sources to his sister Qin Li. Even so, Qin Xian has 40 void crystal sources, which has already exceeded the limit of receiving the highest level of blessing. Let's go and take a look at what the gods look like. Qin Xian smiled at Qin Li, with only a trace of curiosity on his face, but no worship. For him, gods are just more powerful beings. What's more, these gods are still incomplete gods, and their godhood has been deprived by the great terror of the void, the Lord of Corn of the Third Royal Court. All those who have void crystal sources entered the portal and went to the temple of the gods. The rest left the copy. No matter what, Qin Xian's name will surely resound throughout the empire. Whether he killed Void Warlord Ka Crocodile alone, or killed more than 100,000 people when he attacked Empress Angelina. It is enough to make this young man the hottest and most controversial topic in the empire, and even in the human world. 0. When Qin Shihan passed through the portal, he found that he seemed to have come to a brand new world. One dream after another. In the dream, Qin Shihan saw many scenes, and he seemed to have traveled through time and space to become the emperor of the ancient empire. The void had just invaded, and the empire was crumbling. This dream was so real that Qin Shihan almost forgot his original identity and really regarded himself as the emperor of the ancient empire. In this dream, countless people of the empire were in panic. The ministers of the empire were also caught off guard and at a loss. At the critical moment, Qin stood up. With extremely tough means, he concentrated all the military forces, lined up on the front line, and forcibly recruited any men of appropriate age. Regardless of any casualties, the power of the void was blocked at the forefront. Next, Qin Shihan used all the knowledge of the ancient empire, including those forbidden spells. He began to do human experiments to experiment with forbidden spells. Even held a sacrificial ceremony to get more powerful power. In the end, Qin Shihan transformed all the people of the empire into existences similar to the void monsters. Even directly using the empire's people to mate with the void monsters to give birth to a new species. Strong, brave, but without any emotions. As if they were all robots. The entire empire only needs the will of Qin Shihan. Finally, under the leadership of Qin Shihan, the ancient empire repelled the void invasion. After repelling the void invasion, Qin Shihan's eyes were a little dazed, and then he found himself in an extremely magnificent palace. Others who were qualified to enter the pantheon also had a dazed look on their faces. It seemed that they had experienced a dream similar to his. And in the depths of the palace, a large number of majestic figures were scattered around, staring at this group of humans. One of the majestic and solemn goddesses, with her eyebrows slightly wrinkled, was staring at Qin Shihan. Her eyes were full of contamination. There was shock, emotion, but more of it was vigilance. She saw that everyone had regained consciousness, and the sound floated in the palace, deafening and holy. It made everyone want to worship. I am the eternal Queen Marika, the Lord of the Pantheon, and the God of this world. After she spoke, the other gods also spoke. My name is Kenshi, the god of war worshipped by the ancient empire. My name is Alun, the goddess of the moon. My name is Mandos, the god of the forest. One god after another spoke, and the entire pantheon echoed in the ethereal divine space. For humans, the divine sound is so beautiful and so holy. So many people couldn't help but kneel down. Only Qin Shihan, Qin Li and Chu Junjiang did not kneel down, and they still stood quietly with a calm expression. Marika looked at Qin Shihan and the other two who did not kneel down, and her eyebrows couldn't help but frown again, then stretched out, and said lightly, "You have passed the Broken Heaven Kingdom copy and defeated the Void Warlord Ka Crocodile. You can get the blessing of the Pantheon. However, you still need to be tested to see which blessing you get. The dream you just experienced is a test." Quote, a trace of sadness appeared on her face. This world has been broken, and we are all waiting for the appearance of the Son of Prophecy. According to legend, only the Son of Prophecy can save our world. And those who can stop the invasion of the void and save the empire in dreams are qualified to become the Son of Prophecy. Quote, after these words came out, some people showed regret on their faces. Because they all failed in their dreams. The ancient empire invaded by the void was broken, just like in reality. Marika said in a deep voice, for thousands of years, countless people have been tested, but no one has been able to pass the test and repel the void in dreams. Until this time. Quote, Marika looked at Qin Shihan with a complicated look. This time, two people passed the test. They saved and repelled the void in the dream. The next moment, Qin Shihan suddenly appeared in the center of the Temple of the Gods. At the same time, opposite Qin Shihan, Yi Zan's figure slowly appeared. Seeing Yi Zan appear, Qin Shihan narrowed his eyes slightly. He guessed right. It was indeed the gods who rescued Yi Zan. And let Yi Zan take the test and receive the blessing of the gods. Yi Zan also watched quietly. They all passed the test of the Temple of the Gods. Marika said loudly. Immediately afterwards, in the center of the Temple of the Gods, the round mirror also showed the choices of Qin Shihan and Yi Zan in the dream. Qin Shihan became the emperor in the dream. He was cold and ruthless, and he was extremely calm. Every choice seemed to be the most beneficial choice. They were all the most reasonable choices. And the facts proved that he did succeed. Under his leadership, the empire only took 100 years to repel the void. After repelling the void, under Qin Shi'an's governance, the ancient empire became stronger and began to expand rapidly. And invaded other worlds and launched many tragic wars. Cruelly suppressed the races of other worlds. The glory of the ancient empire shone on all worlds. Became the most powerful empire in the universe. Seeing this scene, everyone was silent and felt Qin Shi'an's extremely cold wrist. I have to admit that perhaps from the position of emperor, Qin Lai is extremely suitable. He is simply a machine without emotions. And Yi Zan's side is a completely different scene. In Yi Zan's dream, after the void invasion, he led the way and went to the front line in person, eating and living with the soldiers. He was loved by the soldiers. He loves the people, even the poor in the slums. He can treat them gently, and even willing to hold his hand and listen to his requests. The war of void invasion was extremely brutal, but under the leadership of Yi Zan, the ancient empire was defeated but never collapsed. Countless people were willing to die with Yi Zan. The war lasted for 1,000 years. Under Yi Zan's leadership, the ancient empire never surrendered, even though the empire had lost more than half of its territory. In the end, Yi Zan led the ancient empire and persisted until the will of apocalypse came. Yi Zan chose to sacrifice himself. He digitized himself and became the will of the ancient empire, sealing all the void cracks. And the ancient empire has since restored peace. Qin Shi'an looked at Yi Zan's dream, shook his head, and a trace of sarcasm and disdain appeared on his face. It seemed that in his opinion, sacrificing oneself was an extremely stupid thing. These two completely different dreams shocked everyone. Qin Shi'an and Yi Zan are simply two extremes. In Qin Shi'an's dream, the Emperor Qin Shi'an was high above and never approached the people and soldiers. He was just alone, sitting on the throne, listening to all kinds of intelligence indifferently. And he used the most indifferent means to get the most favorable results. In his eyes, the people, soldiers, and even the 1.1 ministers were just pawns that could be sacrificed and used at will. Even after defeating the void, Qin Shi'an immediately learned from the void to invade other worlds and enslave the people of other worlds. The ancient empire under his rule was indeed powerful and prosperous. But it almost became another void. And Yi Zan, compared to the emperor, was more like a hero. He loved his people and was willing to fight bloody battles for his people. And he was also loved by his people. Later, he was willing to sacrifice himself for the countless people of the empire. Everyone was shocked by Yi Zan in the dream. If you use two adjectives to describe Qin Shi'an and Yi Zan, that is, Qin Shi'an is worthy of fear, and Yi Zan is worthy of admiration. Two candidates for the son of prophecy, two completely different paths. Everyone was silent, with thousands of thoughts in their hearts. They were thinking, Qin Shi'an and Yi Zan, which one would be the real son of prophecy? If we look at it from a macro perspective, Qin Shi'an is undoubtedly the perfect emperor template. Under his leadership, the empire repelled the void in the next 100 years and ruled most of the universe. Even though, behind the prosperity and strength of this empire, there are countless bones and countless sacrificed people. And from their personal perspective, Yi Zan may be a more warm emperor. He is kind, sincere, and selfless, almost a collection of all the best and most desirable qualities of mankind. Chu Jundiao looked at Yi Zan's dream, shook his head slightly, and his eyes were slightly sarcastic. Yes, Yi Zan is indeed a good person. But good people can't be good emperors. This world is full of dangers, calculations, cunning, conspiracy, and blood everywhere. A person with a fairy tale character is destined to be unsuitable for this cruel world. A true king only considers one thing, that is, getting more benefits. 23. But if Chu Junjiang were to choose an emperor, she would choose Yi Zan. Such a person could easily be controlled. The look on Marika's face was full of holiness. There is only one son of prophecy. She looked at Qin Shi'an and said lightly, although you have also passed the dream trial, unfortunately, I don't think you will be the son of prophecy. Qin Shi'an heard this, without any anger on his face. Instead, he showed an interested look and asked with a smile, why do you think so? Marika looked a little indifferent and looked at Qin Shi'an. Although the empire you led repelled the void. But your people are living in pain. In order to repel the void, you used all means, even practicing forbidden magic, and sacrificed millions of lives, which gave you great power. Qin Xian was puzzled when he heard this, shook his head, and asked, "Why not? If I don't sacrifice them, I can't gain power, and I can't repel the void. By then, the number of dead will not be just millions, but billions, and the entire empire will be destroyed." Qin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking indifferent, and said lightly, "Sacrificing millions of people to save billions of people is not a very reasonable choice. Their sacrifice has brought me power and peace to the empire. These sacrifices are worth it." Listening to Qin Xian's words, everyone felt a little cold. He is simply a political creature, without any emotions, only considering the gains and losses of interests. But they have to admit that Qin Xian's words still make some sense. In that case, Qin Xian's choice is the best solution. But Marika shook her head and said angrily, "But those who were sacrificed, are they willing? They are also your people. And you just sacrificed them and betrayed them." Qin Xian frowned and said coldly, "They are just ordinary people, ants on the roadside. They have no value. Why should we care about their thoughts? Weakness is the original sin. Their death in exchange for my power is their only value." Hearing Qin Xian's words, Marika and the gods looked a little gloomy. Marika looked at Qin Xian and said coldly, "The test of the dream is to repel the void, but the more serious test is to save the empire. Saving the empire means saving all the people. No one can give up. And you, the people of the empire you rule, are just pawns, and you can sacrifice them at will. Even in the end, the empire you rule began to invade other worlds. What's the difference between this and the void? So, although you passed the dream test, you have no emotions and are not the son of prophecy. The real son of prophecy is Yi Zan." Marika turned around and looked at Yi Zan, with a satisfied look on her face, and said gently, "You are the son of prophecy. Your kindness, your sincerity, and your selflessness can influence everyone. Gathering the power of everyone together is the king that the ancient empire really needs. Is the savior that this world really needs." A dazzling light appeared in Marika's hand, which was the origin of this world. She announced loudly, "Yi Zan can get the most perfect blessing. He will be favored by the gods, and from now on, he is the new emperor of the Holy Nurman Empire." Yi Zan heard this, and a trace of excitement appeared on his face. He never thought that he could become the final winner and become the son of prophecy. He looked at Qin Xian proudly, and his persistence was not wrong. Although the road is tortuous, as long as you treat people sincerely, you will definitely gain more. The benevolent is invincible. Now he can get the perfect blessing, and truly become an SSS-level dragon god from an SS-level dragon god apostle. He has become the new emperor of the Holy Nurman Empire. Behind him is the temple of the gods. Yi Zan only felt that the road that was originally desperate and hopeless suddenly became bright. "As for you," quote, Marika looked at Qin Xian. Qin Xian frowned and said calmly, "Although you have obtained 40 void crystal sources and ranked first in points, according to the rules you should get the perfect blessing. But I can feel that your heart is full of darkness, and your ruthlessness will make the world suffer. We once made an agreement with Apocalypse that we are the arbitrators of this copy. For the future of mankind, we will not give you the perfect blessing. But you can still choose one from the medium blessings. This is our last mercy." Hearing this, everyone looked at Qin Xian. No one thought that things would develop to this extent. Qin Xian, who ranked first in points, did not get the perfect blessing. Instead, Yi Zan, who did not fight the last two bosses, became the final winner. Qin Li heard this, and his face suddenly became angry, full of hostility towards the gods. But Qin Xian did not have any anger on his face, but laughed instead. He laughed as if he heard a funny joke. After a long time, he stopped laughing and looked at Marika with a sarcastic look. "Eternal Queen, I think you may have learned something." Qin Xian showed a cold smile on his face. "I came to the temple of the gods not to pray for your blessing, but to take away the blessing." He looked at Marika and the gods without any awe or fear. Only indifference. That was the look of looking at prey. Not to ask for blessings, but to take away blessings. Marika and the gods all looked gloomy and ugly when they heard this. They could feel that Qin Xian, a human, did not seem to be particularly respectful to the gods. But they did not expect that Qin Shian would be so arrogant. How dare he snatch the favor of the gods? How dare you, mortal? The gods were furious. The god of war Kenshi looked at Qin Shian angrily, took a step forward, and the terrifying power of the gods filled the entire temple. Remember your identity, mortal. Leave the temple of the gods now, you will not get any blessings. The anger of the gods, the human warriors in the temple, all had a look of fear in their hearts. Humans and gods, after all, are not two classes of existence. Even if these gods have been robbed of their main godhood, they are still gods, and they have a natural suppression of humans. But Qin Shian still has that calm expression. It seems that the so-called power of the gods has no effect on him. Facing the gods, he chuckled and said, I have never failed to get what I want. No one can refuse me, not even gods. The god of war Kenshi said coldly, I want to know what the consequences of refusing you will be. Qin Shian's eyes flashed with a hint of sarcasm. The next moment, his body suddenly disappeared, and then appeared in front of the god of war Kenshi. Qin Shian's body burst into extremely dazzling holy light, and behind him, 6 wings emerged and bloomed, and the whole person exuded extremely terrifying divine power. So that the surrounding space continued to collapse and annihilate towards him. Qin Shian, a sword chopped at Kenshi's head. Kenshi was furious, and his fists suddenly rose with endless divine light, and his whole body became extremely majestic. A punch was thrown at Qin Shian. This punch pierced through the stars. Mortal, you are looking for death. But the next moment, Kenshi showed a look of shock on his face. His fists were directly cut off by Qin Shian, almost crushing him, and the holy sword broke all of Kenshi's divine power. Directly cut off Kenshi's head. The head of the god of war Kenshi fell to the ground, with an unbelievable look on his face. He was not completely dead yet, and he murmured, this. How is it possible? But then, Qin Shian had no expression on his face and crushed Kenshi's head with one foot. It was like crushing a watermelon. Blessing of the Archangel of Great Light. Enter the Archangel state, incarnate as a demigod of holy light. All attributes are increased by 300%, skill level is strengthened by 10 levels, immune to any control, all skills have the effect of divine deterrence, lasting for 30 minutes, and cooling time is 48 hours. Qin Shian killed the god of war Ken Zheng with one sword. Although the gods in the pantheon are genuine gods, they are also incomplete gods. Their godhood was taken away by the great terror of the void, and they could only survive in the pantheon, with their combat power plummeting by 90%, which is about level 50. Qin Shian, because of the killing of gods, has stacked his attributes to over 1,000 levels, plus the blessing of the great Archangel of Light. Qin Shian's combat power has surpassed these gods. Kenshi's divine power and the remaining fragments of the godhood are being pulled by the holy sword and gathering towards Qin Shian's body. And Qin Shian, on the other hand, saw the prompt of getting a new fragment of the godhood on the system panel. Reward of the god of war godhood fragment, all main attributes increased by 10%, all skill levels increased by 1 level, godhood progress plus 10%, immune to any god's deterrence skills, and obtain the oracle of the god of war. Oracle of the god of war. Obtain the skills of the god of war, which can see through the weaknesses and flaws of all the skills of the target, lasting for 2 hours, and cooling time of 24 hours. Another fragment of the godhood is in hand. With a plop, Qi Wumai's body fell. He lost all his divinity and vitality. Qin Shian still had a smile on his face, looking at the gods, and seemed polite. Now, do you know the consequences of rejecting me? This scene shocked everyone. Qin Shian actually killed a god. And more importantly, Qin Shian dared to kill a god. This is Qin Shian, the biggest difference between Qin Shian and others. In the minds of others, including Yi Zan, gods are supreme beings, and one cannot disobey the will of gods. One can only please gods and get their approval. But Qin Shian is different. Gods don't give him what he wants. Then kill the gods too. As long as he blocks Qin Shian's way, Qin Shian will kill gods and Buddhas. Marika and a group of gods looked at Kenshi's body, and some of them still didn't react. God of war Kenshi, who fought against the void and shattered countless gods in the past, is dead. Died in the hands of a human. Then, Marika was furious, her angry body trembled, looked at Qin Shian, gritted her teeth and said, how dare you kill gods? But more of a fear was born in her heart. God of War Kenshi is the existence amazing, second only to her in the pantheon of gods. The result was still killed by Qin Xian in an instant. Seeing the fear in Marika and the god's eyes, Qin Xian showed a hint of sarcasm on his face. These gods still think they are omnipotent. For thousands of years, they have seen batches of human professionals occupying. All human professionals worship them and treat them with great respect. So they also think that they are really irresistible. But when Qin Xian uncovered the last fig leaf of these gods, you will find that these gods are nothing. Qin Xian looked down at Marika and the gods indifferently, and smiled. If you kneel down now and pledge allegiance to me, if you obediently offer your blessings, I can still consider letting you go. The remaining human professionals looked at Qin Xian with shock. Qin Xian not only killed a god, he even wanted other gods to be loyal to him. How domineering. Chu Junchang's beautiful eyes kept flashing with strange colors, full of admiration for Qin Xian, and a strange feeling gradually rose in her heart. And Qin Li looked at Qin Xian with eyes full of admiration and envy. This is her brother, more powerful and noble than the gods. Looking for death. Stupid mortal, you don't understand the anger of the gods at all. Hearing Qin Xian's words, the gods were extremely angry. Qin Xian dared to let them kneel down and surrender. They are gods. The forest god Mandos roared, and countless flowers emerged under his feet, and then giant trees grew one by one, and the whole temple seemed to have become a forest wilderness. The power of Mandos came from all directions, and the giant trees seemed to be his arms, rolling towards Qin Xian. And his power, with the breath of God, is full of majesty and solemnity. God's deterrence, this is the greatest advantage of God over humans. The power of God has God's deterrence, which can make humans have no idea of resistance from the bottom of their hearts. It is somewhat similar to the blood suppression in the void world. And God's deterrence can also make mortals' attacks on God basically ineffective. So mortals killing God is basically a legend. But Qin Xian didn't feel anything at all. He is an SSS-level Oracle Knight, a demigod body, immune to God's deterrence. Qin Xian has 6 winged angel wings behind him, wearing holy light armor, holding a holy sword, floating in the air. Compared with the gods, he is more like a god. Majestic and unstoppable. Facing countless giant trees, Qin Xian's holy sword burned everything and directly burned the entire forest to ashes. The holy fire converged towards Mandos along the forest. Mandos showed a look of fear on his face. He could never have imagined that his divine deterrence had no effect on Qin Xian. The next moment, Shidukai was devoured by the holy fire. In just a few minutes, 2 gods fell in succession. This time, the gods finally understood what kind of guest the pantheon had welcomed. Qin Xian was completely different from the humans before. His nature had already been revealed in the dream. Cold, cruel, ruthless, and intolerant of any temper. It was just that the gods at that time just hated Qin Xian's nature and did not think Qin Xian was important. After all, the strength in the dream is not the real strength. But now, they are shocked to see that Qin Xian also has the strength to kill them. Qin Xian has become their nightmare. The other human strongmen, with shocked expressions on their faces, have withdrawn. The battle between Qin Xian and the gods is no longer something they can participate in. Even if they are affected, they will be crushed directly. Qin Xian looked at the horrified gods, with a sneer in his eyes. Gods have never been great. Because gods can bleed, get hurt, and die. As long as you have a stronger power than the gods. Only power is eternal. And now, these gods are just a group of prey in Qin Xian's eyes. Marika looked at Qin Xian and suddenly felt regretful. Maybe she was wrong. Even if Qin Xian was not the son of prophecy, if she had given Qin Xian perfect blessings normally, perhaps things would not have developed to this extent. One god after another fell and died under Qin Xian's holy sword. Their divine power and the fragments of the godhood remaining in their bodies were all plundered and absorbed by Qin Xian. At this moment, Marika finally understood what Qin Xian had said before. He came to the temple of the gods not to pray for blessings, but to take away blessings. Since the gods did not give it, he would rob it himself. Stop! Yi Zan roared and rushed towards Qin Xian. It was the gods who saved him and recognized his identity. For Yi Zan, the gods of the pantheon are his companions. But he has already activated the skill Transform into Dragon God, and he cannot transform into Dragon God again for a few days. But Marika stopped him. Mirror wall. Marika's long hair stood up, CDEH burning like a flame, and her eyes turned into a terrifying divine light. The space around Qin Xian suddenly turned into countless mirrors, and each mirror reflected the other side of Qin Xian. It created hundreds of independent spaces, and Qin Xian trapped in it now. Then, Marika pointed her 2 fingers at Yi Zan's forehead, and the origin of the world appeared behind her. The power of the origin of the world poured into Yi Zan's body, and Yi Zan's body trembled, feeling a mysterious feeling. Transformation blessing. All skills are improved, and special professions can evolve once. This is the transformation blessing that Yi Zan has always dreamed of. With transformation blessing, his SS level Dragon God Apostle can evolve into an SSS level Dragon God. Your profession has not yet completely transformed. I will send you to the Imperial Treasury, where the essence of successive empires is stored. There, you can become stronger and inherit everything in the empire. After Marika finished speaking, she used her divine power to teleport Yi Zan to another space and sent the pantheon away. Then, the countless mirrored worlds shattered. Qin Xian appeared, looking down at Marika with indifference in his eyes. Marika looked at the pantheon, which was almost in ruins, and took a deep breath. Then, she stared at Qin Xian coldly. It was like looking at a dead person. I admit that you are very powerful, human, your strength has surpassed O. But you forgot one fact. That is, although this is a copy made by Tianqi, it is also the world I created. And in this world, you need to abide by the rules of this world. In front of the origin of the world, any living being must submit to the rules. Marika roared, and the origin of the world in her hand burst into a dazzling light, covering her and Qin Wu. The next moment, she and Qin Xian appeared in another space. It was as if they had come to the starry space, with a magnificent planet under their feet, which was the plane where the Saint Nerman Empire was located. Marika held the origin of the world in both hands and coldly ordered Qin Xian, kneel down in front of the origin of the world, mortal. The supreme power of the law immediately suppressed Qin Xian. But soon, Marika showed an unbelievable look on her face. Because Qin Xian was still standing, the power of the law of the origin of the world was ineffective against him. How is this possible? Marika looked at Qin Xian in shock. Xian, then she seemed to have thought of something and screamed. You are not a pure human. You have the blood of the void in your body. Qin Xian showed a strange smile on his face. It seems that I need to introduce myself again. His pupils suddenly turned into a strange purple, and he gave an exaggerated gentleman's salute to the eternal Queen Marika. The Lord of the First Royal Court of the Void, the son of the Queen of Death, Qin Xian, salutes you. Weak God. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.